Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to discuss Richard Linklater's new film, Hitman. I have a special guest in for Nick this week. I told him he could join the podcast as long as he wore the sexy stewardess outfit that I FedExed him, and he's here, so I'll let you do the math. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of Two Peas on a Podcast, where we review the latest and sometimes greatest movies every week. Gerald is here with you, and producer Dan has crawled out of the shadows yet again to fill in for the missing Nick this week. Nick is going to be taking a break, by the way, guys, for, 3 or 4 weeks. Who knows? I don't know when this guy's coming back, but he needed some time away. So I'm going to have some guests in here. And first up is producer Dan, who came on and talked Monkey Man with me a little over a month ago. And now you're back, brother, to talk about something in the Netflix realm, which you never do. You've never done that.
I've never done that.
Thank you.
No one's ever thought of having a podcast just covering Netflix stuff. No one's ever talked about news.
Should do that.
And the earnings calls and the trailers they release in order for everyone to be like, I don't get enough Netflix stuff marketed to me. So, it'd be really great if somebody could help taste make a little bit, tell me what's good on there.
Yeah.
It's never happened. No one's ever had that idea. No one's ever done that idea for, say, 350 episodes.
You should do that. Get in the ground
idea.
floor, Yeah. Hitman, directed by Linklater and starring Mr. Glenn Powell, who we'll get into it when we get into One Big Question, I think. But he's been considered in the last few years as maybe the next great movie star. Kind of curious of what you think that term means when you break it down. But we'll be talking about Hitman tonight. That's the review this week. But before we get there, Dan, it's been a few weeks since we did this segment on the show. But, when Nick's here, he doesn't really care about much outside of the review that we're discussing. And sometimes he doesn't even care about that.
That's very true. I edit the show. I know more than anybody.
That's absolutely true. But we like to do a segment where we see what's going on in the world of entertainment, and we talk about some big stories in entertainment news as we spill the peas this week. All right. Bad news for me, Dan. I don't know about for you so much, but it came out today that Taylor Swift is actually not going to be in Deadpool and Wolverine. Did you see all the hubbub about her possibly being in it because of the Lady Deadpool character and the shot of her from the waist down in the trailer or something like that? And all the
No,
Swifties
I also
were
haven't
saying,
even
"This
seen
is
the
Taylor."
trailer for. I haven't seen the Deadpool Wolverine trailer. I care about that movie, but I don't care who. I'd rather just be surprised. Also, I was a little let down by Deadpool 2.
Oh, okay.
After really loving the original Deadpool, so I will say, Gerald, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit about Taylor Swift being in this movie or not.
Come on.
No,
It's already going to It's already going to gross $1 billion. It would have been $2 billion if she was in it for 2 seconds.
It's not going to gross $1 billion. It's going to gross $750 million, and that's it.
All right. Well, Ryan Reynolds and her and Blake Lively have been friends for several years, and he starred in her All Too Well music video a few years ago that she directed. And like I said, there was
sometimes.
Yep, that's right. There are Chiefs games together.
Yeah.
And anyway, the rumors were flying. The Swifties got on the investigative journalism, and they were trying to figure out if those were Taylor's legs. And I actually was convinced that was Taylor Swift, but it came out today, and she said, "No, I'm sorry, guys. I'm not actually going to be in Deadpool and Wolverine, even though that would be awesome. I am not in it." Do you have any idea about Lady Deadpool?
Shut up. Yes, a little bit. But also,
nice.
Here's what I actually care about. Swifties, stop being fucking weirdos. Just stop.
No, it's great.
It's really easy to not be weirdos. It's really fucking easy. It's the easiest thing in the world to not be like, "Oh, are these Taylor Swift's legs? Let me examine every concert photo from the last 14 years of her career."
Yeah, they put her
legs.
They put the Lady Deadpool legs on Taylor's body, and they were like, that's her.
It's fucking weirdo behavior. That's
apparently, it's not
weird. That's so fucking weird. You fucking weirdo. Stop being weird.
All right. I love you, Swifties. I don't know.
No, I don't like you at all. Stop being weird.
I'm a Swiftie. You don't like me either?
Stop being weird.
All right. Well, I'll try. I don't know. No promises. Any thoughts on Lady Deadpool? You Do you have any ideas? Some people say maybe
Uh,
Blake
the,
Lively.
I mean, that would be funny. That would actually be correct. Actually,
Yeah.
is put Blake Lively in the movie as Lady Deadpool.
Mm.
I am unfamiliar with the character. I think I've seen some stills of her in a comic book, and that was about it. I don't read comic books much anymore, so I don't know. Cool, I guess. We'll see. This movie seems like it might be a mess that's overstuffed, and that's kind of what I
Mm.
thought about the second Deadpool movie, is that it was overstuffed. So we'll see.
Well, here's one that I think you do care about on some level because I know you're a fan of this franchise. But Knives Out 3, the casting for that movie. When is enough enough? I mean, are you kind of like, all right, who's next? Like, who are they going to put in this movie? Let me give you some of these names real quick. Mila Kunis, Josh Brolin, Glenn Close, Andrew Scott, Kaylee Spaney. Thank you, Julio. Josh O'Connor, Jeremy Renner, Kerry Washington, Thomas Hayden Church, of course, Daniel Craig. He's got a new look, by the way. He's got like long hair and a beard, and that came out today,
Yep.
which I don't know if that was on the set of Knives Out 3, although I think it was. What do you think, man? Is this too many characters here?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like the first Knives Out was maybe what, 10 characters. Glass Onion was 8, I think. I want to say 8 in total, or
Right.
somewhere around like in that small number. And now what? You just rattled off like 12 actors right there.
At least.
So like,
Yeah.
okay. The thing I care more about with this is like, are we actually gonna get a good mystery? Like, please, can we get a good Can we actually get like a mystery movie? Like, I like Knives Out, but it's ultimately like a whole cavalcade of other things that aren't a mystery, and then you have Glass Onion, which is a whole cavalcade of other things and not a mystery because it's
Right.
immediately the most like stereotypical evil guy in the room is the guy who did it. Okay, cool. Thanks. Great mystery, everybody. Love it. I want a real mystery this time. And if Rian Johnson is not interested in doing a mystery movie, fine. If he wants to just make a social commentary movie under the guise of a mystery movie, sure. I like both of the other movies for what they are. But man, can we just get one mystery movie that isn't based on an Agatha Christie novel?
Well, also too, the original, and I think you and I talked about this before. It was kind of like it kind of played its lead pretty early. Like it wasn't really. I mean, you kind of knew the whodunit of it all, and it was marketed more as a whodunit. So, I mean, I like these movies. I don't think I like them as much as you do, but I don't know. I feel like the cast list for this is just like every morning you wake up.
These movies?
I feel like you're a fan of them.
I'm a fan. I like them.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm like, well, the Gospel of Rian Johnson says Chris Evans bad guy, blessed be his name. I don't do that shit. I'm just like, hey, these are good movies. I enjoy these movies.
Yeah, I mean, to me, they're okay.
Sure.
Let's see.
Then in that stance, yes, I do like these movies more than you.
Practical Magic 2 is potentially in the works with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman returning.
Who fucking cares? Who cares? When was the first one? I haven't even seen the first one. When was the first one?
It was like it had to be late '90s, early 2000s. I mean, at least.
All right,
20
so it's
years
like
ago.
30 years too late. I don't care. My wife, I think, watched it one time on my TV in the house, and that's it. And I'm like, I don't care,
man.
Gerald. It's Practical Magic. It's a fucking franchise I never even. It's a movie I didn't even watch in the first place. I don't care. Move on. Next
Well, I
thing.
mean, I knew this segment was going to be Does Dan Care? So that's fine. I think that might be it for Spill the Peas this week. I didn't do a lot of research, but I wanted to bring the segment back for a short time.
Oh,
there
I
to
thought
have
you were
Dan
going to
yell
ask
at
me
about
about
news stories.
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask me about Furiosa.
Well, that's old news at this point.
I mean, it is, but like, so the part about the Furiosa stuff I care about is film Twitter going on to film Twitter and film Twittering. And by that, I mean they are blaming the audience for not going to see the movie, and it's just like, guys, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up.
Well, in that respect, the audience came out for Bad Boys for Life this weekend.
They sure
You
did.
saw that, I guess. Yeah,
they did.
Came out, and it won't be the last time, but
no, it won't be.
It was disappointing for me because Furiosa was my #1 movie of the year. So, And I also feel like it puts the next installment in jeopardy if it ever happens now, because
it's never happening.
yeah, I mean,
George Miller got his blank check. He made this. It bombed. It happens. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
But Bad Boys, give me 5. I need a 5-movie marathon for exact reasons that everyone should know, except for actually exact reasons not a lot of people know, but reasons people in the know. Give me 5 Bad Boys movies.
Is this because of Fast Five in any way?
No.
Oh, okay. Because I don't know then.
This is a completely separate thing that I will not elaborate on this podcast. But there are people who know.
Okay. All right.
And they know, and I want them to know that I want more.
Well, I want to check out Bad Boys for Life. That's the 4th installment. Is that correct, or is it the 3rd? I think it's the 4th, right?
It's the 4th one.
Why didn't they use the number 4? 3? Why didn't they use the number 4 though?
Because it's not Bad Boys for Life, is it?
I think that's what it's called, right?
I thought Bad Boys for Life was 3.
Oh, it's Bad Boys Ride or Die. You're right. I'm sorry. Why didn't they do Bad Boys for Life as the 4th one?
Because they're stupid. Who cares?
Yeah.
What do you want me to say?
Or maybe they didn't. Yeah. Maybe they didn't know there was going to be a 4th one, but whatever. Anyway, yeah. So the box office is kind of okay. At least this week, it's okay. We're not freaking out.
Hey, guess what? It's always been fine. Apparently, it's just the movies that people on Film Twitter think that people in the general audience want to go see aren't the ones they want to go see. They want to go see fucking Bad Boys.
Well, do they want to see Hitman, which, by the way, you can't really do on a big screen because it played in very limited release unless you're in a major market like LA or something like that. But it did come to Netflix this past Friday. Me and Dan are going to discuss what we thought of that film. But before we get there, Dan, we like to start out every review with what we call one big question.
You're going to ask yourself a question. I got a number of questions. First of all, how dare you?
Damn straight. So, did you pull up any in the Discord there, or do you want me to just spit them out?
No. I went to the Discord and I looked, and you had the cavalcade of: is this the Flash of Richard Linklater movies? This is the Flash of Glenn Powell movies. Is this the Flash of Hitman movies? Is this the Flash of Netflix movies?
Which, by the way, can I just interject real quick? I love our fans, but stop doing that. I can't. Like, that's an inside joke nobody gets. I don't. Yeah, I mean, it's like ask me that. But some of them did come through with an actual question.
Some of them did come, but I didn't actually realize that is this the Flash of Hitman movies was a real question that was asked. I was just being an asshole.
No, it really was. I mean, every week
it's like the first question by Brad: is this the Flash of Hitman movies? Fuck you, Brad.
Is this the Flash? Insert whatever. Yeah.
All right.
Well, why don't you read out a legitimate one over there for us?
Yeah. Also from Brad. Okay, serious question. If you could cast Glenn Powell in a superhero film, who would you cast him as? Brad, you don't have to put a period there. A comma can just go there, and you can complete the whole sentence. So you don't. So little grammatical thing, but put a comma there. Thank you.
Who would you cast him as? I mean,
it's very easy.
Well, for me, it's Captain America, but I mean.
Wrong.
He kind of but he looks just like the dude that plays Captain America.
Nope.
So what's your easy answer?
Oh, he's Booster Gold, easy. This isn't even a question. He is fucking Booster Gold. He's a DC character. I'm 100% certain that James Gunn would love to cast him as Booster Gold. However, I think Glenn Powell has said he does not want to do a superhero movie, which is to answer one of the questions that you kind of hinted at the beginning of the movie. Or at the beginning of the episode, I'm sorry, which you might be touching on here shortly. So I won't get into it. But yeah, so if Glenn Powell decided he wanted to do a superhero movie, James Gunn should break down his agent's door to make him Booster Gold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see it. You're right. Why doesn't he want to do one, though? So over in the Facebook fan group, that's a good segue. Let me pull it up so I can get the wording right here. But our boy Jared Taylor asked a question over there in response. By the way, I hate Facebook now.
Facebook sucks. I told you about this. The Messenger app makes me wants me to make a pin for it so I can access my messages, and I don't want to do that anymore. So just Just talk to me on Discord, Gerald.
Well, nobody. That's fine. I can do that going forward because I hate Facebook too. Nobody can see the post unless you like tag everybody that follows you. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to tag all my
Yeah,
followers. That's
that's
so
stupid
annoying.
as fuck. Hey, if you're on Facebook, check out the show notes and join the Discord and just hang out in the Discord. The Discord's way better.
Yeah, do that. Do that instead. In fact, if we can get people to do that, I'll leave Facebook because I hate it. If I didn't have the show, I wouldn't be on there. So Jared Taylor, who I know does follow us on Facebook. Jared, thank you so much, patron of the show. He says, "Is Glenn Powell the next big time leading man?" I've seen a lot of people refer to it as the next big movie star. Dan, what are your thoughts on the whole movie star argument, and is Glenn Powell that?
No, he's not a movie star. Fuck. Do we have movie like is Tom Cruise the last movie star?
I think he's the last active one, at least.
Like
Yeah.
maybe Brad Pitt, maybe. And I'm trying
Brad
to think
Pitt,
of
Cruise.
like female movie stars, and I just can't. No, like, and it's not like me
But
trying to
see,
be weird, but like
that's a good point to what I'm kind of asking you though, because where's that next wave? Because you look at artists like Glenn Powell and like Sydney Sweeney from a female perspective. I feel like could they be
Sydney
Tom
Sweeney's not the
Cruise
next.
and
No, Sydney Sweeney immediately no, just immediately no.
I mean I don't know, man. She's making smart choices. She's done TV. She's done movies.
She
She's
did
obviously
Madam
got
Web.
the look.
She did Madam
Well,
Web.
she did. She did do Madam Web.
So it's like you can't say
Touche, my
makes smart
friend.
choices.
Touche.
Can't say she makes smart choices when she did Madam Web. Like,
Well, I can if you're talking about for the De Niro. You know,
I
she
mean,
took that
sure,
Madam Web
yeah,
money and
Robert
she
De
made
Niro,
Immaculate,
yeah.
which was she took the money from Madam Web and made Immaculate, which was a passion project for her. So, I mean, whatever. Marvel pays people, so
yeah,
I don't know. I think Glenn Powell could be.
sure.
And we were just talking about him not doing superhero stuff, for example, or whatever. But I mean, depending on what he decides to do and what scripts he decides to take seriously, if he plays his cards right, I think 10 or 15 years from now we could be putting him in that category of like a Brad Pitt or a Tom Cruise.
I don't know, like how quick was Tom Cruise considered like a movie star? When do you think? Okay, Tom Cruise is a movie star.
I think a lot of times that's a great question. I think a lot of times that for some reason action movies and like blockbuster movies get kind of grouped into that categorization of movie star.
Yeah.
Even though obviously there's all kinds of movies, but I mean, it didn't. I feel like you could say movie star and you could say household name. I feel like Tom Cruise was a household name pretty early on in his career.
Sure.
I mean, movies like Risky Business and then A Few Good Men, and when he was nominated for the Academy Award for Rain Man, and I mean, he did a lot of great stuff. The Color of Money. I mean, he did a lot of great stuff in the 80s and 90s that I think he was a household name, and he was a highly sought after actor by directors and producers and movie studios. But I don't think the general public thought of him as like the poster boy for movie star. He slowly started doing the action stuff like Mission Impossible and that kind of stuff.
Right. My answer to that would probably be like Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
That's about then, because he was doing like he did like Collateral around that time. He did Tropic Thunder around that time. He did Ghost Protocol, and then he's pretty much been on like, except for the fucking Mummy, which like nothing was saving that. But like outside of like that, he's just been like the Mission Impossible train, and then like random one-off movies. Like I think he was in Bridge of Spies? Was he
Bridge of Spies, and he did like Night and Day. I mean, he did
Night and Day was around that time, yeah.
Yeah, he did a lot of movies that are like Mission Impossible movies, but they're like one-off stories, like spy thrillers or whatever.
Right.
But they fit into that bubble of like, this is a movie star doing action shit. And then, of course, the links he goes to lately with his own stunts and all that kind of stuff, I mean, just adds to the kind of element of him loving Hollywood and, trying to do his part to keep it alive. Let me throw this at you. What about Will Smith? Is Will Smith a movie star? And I'm asking you that because of the success of Bad Boys, Ride or Die.
That's fair. I think Will Smith was a movie star, and I'm going to say there's a lot of were movie stars,
Hmm.
Like, and then just something happened, and I think it's like kind of goes back to Marvel, to where like the movie star instead became like the character as opposed to the actor playing the character.
Hmm.
So like, you know, in Mission Impossible, and I'm going to keep going back to Tom Cruise because he's the easiest example. Tom Cruise is Ethan Hunt. But when you talk about Mission Impossible, you're not really talking about like his Ethan Hunt character work in, like in some of the later movies. Yeah, like the Ethan Hunt character work has like that's actually become like a central part of his character. But like you're not like, man, I really enjoy Ethan Hunt as a character. You're going, man, this Tom Cruise guy is fucking insane.
Right.
So
Right.
conversely, when you talk about Marvel movies, yeah, you have people who are like, oh yeah, Chris Evans, oh yeah, Robert Downey Jr. And I think Robert Downey Jr. is probably the most transcendent amongst the
Hmm.
Marvel people, but
Hmm.
also he seemingly plays himself in all of those movies. So it's kind of like, what's the balance here? So Marvel made it more about the character than they did the actor.
I agree
And
with
I
that.
think that's kind of how a lot of movies have gone around franchises, is they care more about the character than the actor playing it. Now, of course, Ryan Reynolds is different. I think Ryan Reynolds is just below movie star, but of course, like his problem is that like look at the fucking projects he takes on
Well, he's
outside of
also
like,
playing himself in a lot of those roles too. I
yeah,
feel
and
like
he's also
similar
playing
to
himself in a lot of
yeah,
things, but like people know who, like, it's that fine line of like house, like you were saying, household name to movie star. What is the difference?
yeah,
And
yeah,
movie star is somebody you will go see in a movie when they're in it. And household name is just like, oh yeah, I know that person. I don't want to fucking watch their movies.
yeah. It's cool that they're in this, but I'm
Yeah,
not going to see it because of them.
yeah.
But I
So
mean,
I
you
think
think
we're in the death of the movie star era, or at least like
me too.
we need somebody to step the fuck up and become a movie star, because like we're a very precious few right now.
Yeah, me too. I think that there is a new wave coming in. Glenn Powell's part of that, in my opinion. I
Sure.
think Timothy Chalamet is probably part of that. A lot of the roles that he's been taking. He's going to be playing Bob Dylan later this year. Again, it all comes down to what are they what are they selecting that would
Right.
be able to go into a bucket for movie star, and I think that a lot of times it's action has to do that. I
Yes.
really do. Like I feel like, a couple years ago, maybe 2, 3 years, maybe pre-COVID ish, we would have had a conversation like this, and we would have maybe thought like The Rock or somebody like that might be on his way to be like a movie star just because of all the
No.
action stuff and the
Sure,
charisma.
sure, the action stuff, but like look at the
Yeah,
like it's action and quality, you
sure.
know.
No, I know. Yeah.
So like The Rock plays himself in every movie, and all of his movies are bad. He can't act. I hate The Rock. I despise The Rock
Really?
so much, and like it basically when he walked away from the Fast and Furious franchises, when I was like, boy, fuck this guy. Like he's had
Pissy,
like the
yeah.
Jumanji movies, but that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of with you though that I feel like it's just not the movie star era anymore. I mean, especially with
No,
streaming and everything else. I mean, people are just kind of like what you said about the character or the movie itself versus, who's in it. I mean, you have hardcore fans like me who are going to go see, Mia Goth in anything, for example, because I'm a
and
huge
you're an
fan of
idiot.
hers and I think she's great. But like Brad Pitt, you mentioned, I mean, I love him. He's a movie star to me, like I think that, but it doesn't transcend the populace. You know what I mean? And I feel like we're just in an era right now where there's just not a lot of those. And I'm not even joking that you might be onto something, that it might be Tom Cruise and maybe a
You,
couple others that you could
I, I
make an
I
argument
actually
for.
I actually think it's Leo. I forgot about
Leo's
Leo
a good
because
one
he
too.
does so few projects. But like, if you look at like his last set of projects that he's taken, like his last five, people have gone out to see the shit out of those.
Hmm.
And somebody will be like, "Well, he had that Netflix movie. Don't Look Up." Don't Look Up is like top 2 all time views on Netflix.
Right.
So like,
And it was an
people
Oscar
saw that.
contender, and yeah, he was
Oscar
great in it.
contender,
Yeah.
although I don't think it was nearly as good enough to be an Oscar contender. It was one of those things where the best
But it
picture
was.
is just like
Yeah.
so bloated with 10, with like they're just like, we have to put 10 now, and it's like, you can put up to 10, just put up to 10, please.
All right, we're going to the movie star's dead. What we're saying, guys. Sorry about
Yeah.
that. We'll talk.
Glen Powell
We'll
might
talk about
be, but like, where's the body of work that actually truly suggests it?
exactly. We'll circle back around to this in 3 to 5 years and see what he's chosen because I feel like he could be, but he's got to be really smart, and that's why I love Sydney Sweeney because I feel like she's been extremely smart in the projects that she's chosen thus far, and it's very early in her career. And for me to already think that, if she continues to do that, she could be one of the big female starlets of Hollywood if she goes in the right path, or she could be a name that kind of well, cool, she's in it, whatever.
Yeah, sure. She exists.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. But all right, so Dan, you have to take this out. Let me grab a beer, buddy. I feel like I need a beer because you've been yelling at me for 27 minutes.
It's fine.
What do I want, Dan? I want a land shark, a sweet Josie. What do I want here?
You want a land shark?
Land shark? Good call. That's a Jimmy Buffett beer, buddy. Did you know that?
What?
That's a Jimmy Buffett beer. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
That's a brewery that he founded down in Florida. Fins Up.
Interesting.
They do other ones too. But
why is it
hard to find around here?
It looks red, or is that just like your background lighting?
It's okay. Background.
It was your lighting.
Purple lights.
Yeah. I was like, why the fuck is that beer red? What the fuck?
But they do this. If you can see, yeah, it actually says Margaritaville. So it's Margaritaville Brewery. But Land Shark is the most popular one. It's just like an island lager. It's got like some lime and salt in there. But they do other ones too. They do other ones too, but you have to like go to Florida to find them. They're hard to find. All right, I'll come back in here and we'll do the early score. All right, coming back in. 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, Dan, let's get into our discussion of Hitman, starring Glen Powell. And how do I pronounce this lovely young lady's name? Let's see. It's Adria Aronia. Is that correct? Do you know?
Sure.
Did you research this?
No.
Adria Aronia from Morbius fame. It's Morbin time.
She's also in 6 Underground, another Netflix movie.
Oh, that's right, actually. And I loved her in that as well. All right, let's discuss Hitman.
Terrible. Now, you can't love anybody in that movie.
I love her, though. She was great. Maybe I'm just blinded by her in this movie.
That's it.
We'll talk about that. We start out every review, guys. Even though Nick's not here, we're going to do it. We give our score to each other out of 10 up front. We have not discussed it with each other yet. It's what we call the early score reveal.
Damn it. This always happens. I think I'm going to score and then I never score. It's not fair.
You've been editing too much. All right. Hitman, Richard Linklater. What do you got, Dan? Count us in and we'll reveal it here, buddy. I don't know if I can see it on your camera, though, but go ahead.
All right. Counting in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 6 out of 10. Interesting. I got a 7 out of 10.
All right. So Dan's dropping a 7 out of 10 on it, and I'm dropping a 6 out of 10 on Hitman, which makes it, I have no idea. 6.5? Is that accurate?
Are you on crack? Like what?
I am actually. I think it's a 6.5, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a 6.5.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, it was immediate. That's
so.
Interestingly enough,
also,
that was the average score on my couch.
Before we get into the discussion of this and our scores, I feel like this is the last episode of the show because Dan has ranked something higher than me. And
I like movies sometimes.
Like something more than I do, so I don't know how to continue.
We just talked about the Knives Out franchise and how I like that more than you.
I know, and I didn't podcast for a year after that when I found that out.
Your loss.
We're pretty close here. 6 for me, a 7 from you.
Yeah.
It gets the patented Dan Brennick. It's fine for me. I would recommend it. For me. I would recommend it to people. I do think it's a good movie. I'll get into probably on the spoiler side the things that brought it down for me ultimately and why I landed on a 6. I feel like this is a movie, and this is spoiler free for a couple minutes, but I feel like this is a movie that benefits from the chemistry of the two leads, which I mentioned Glen Powell. We've been talking about him a lot tonight and his movie star kind of eligibility and just being this leading man in Hollywood and kind of one of the most sought after names right now in Hollywood. Going back a couple years to Top Gun Maverick. I mean, the guy's super charming, super charismatic. Obviously, he's good looking. And he really shines in this role. Like, he really does a lot of really interesting, funny, out of the box. I mean, yes, kind of like these caricatures that his character does, but also kind of like is able to show off his acting chops at the same time, which I really like too, because he's playing multiple kind of people throughout the course of his character's kind of shtick or whatever. And then you have Aronia, who is a beautiful woman, yes, but also she's a great actress that kind of is a good character for him to bounce off of in this movie. And I feel like they really just complemented each other really, really well. But aside from their spark and kind of the energy they brought to the screen when they were sharing the screen together, it just, the way it was executed here just didn't work for me at the end of the day, because I feel like it was a little, it just was missing something. And I'm waiting a little bit to talk about it because I feel like I might spoil some things. So I'll elaborate after you give your general thoughts. 7 out of 10 on Hitman.
Yeah, I generally agree with you. This is one of those movies that is a star-making performance or like a portfolio-building performance, and Glenn Powell nails it. Now, of course, he produced on it. He wrote the screenplay, or like parts of the screenplay with Richard Linklater. So, like, yeah, he got to do a lot of stuff. He got to be funny in some points, with all of his different hitman disguises. Being a stereotypical Russian hitman was very funny. He had the British hitman, which was also funny. He had the redneck one. There's a lot of good like little hitmen that he's portraying. So like when he gets to sink his teeth into those kind of little things, like that's what I'm talking about. Like with portfolio building. Yes, the lead's chemistry is great. Everybody else does kind of feel like, we're just kind of vibing, bro. We're like, this is your thing, Glenn Powell. So it really is just off the strength of Glenn Powell. But so like when there's longer scenes where he's not really the focus. Sorry, it's like The Simpsons. So and Nick's not here, so like when he listens to this, it'll be even funnier. But like, it's like in The Simpsons with the Poochie episode where we're like, all right, Poochie needs to be on camera at all times, except if he's not. And every character should be asking, where's Poochie when he's not on camera? It feels like that. It's like, where's Glenn Powell when he's not on camera?
Yeah. It's definitely, I mean, definitely a vehicle that's centered around him and his performance, but also their kind of magnetic relationship in the movie, which I did believe. I did believe their chemistry. I thought it was hot. Yeah. Like, I mean, they're two hot people doing hot things. Like, I mean, all that stuff worked on that level. But let's get into spoilers after this promo break that you yourself are going to run for us when you do your editing. And when we come back, guys, we will be into full spoilers for Hitman. So sit tight. We will be right back. All right. Coming back in. 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. As I said pre-break, we were discussing Hitman. And this will be spoilers going forward. So if you've not seen Hitman yet, which is, by the way, currently streaming on Netflix and probably not playing in your city, but it is still in limited theaters as well, then make sure you watch it before you listen to the rest of the episode, okay? Now, Dan.
Yes.
Let me ask you why I left this viewing disappointed. Mainly
is the ending?
Because no, we'll get into the ending when we get there, but no, that wasn't a huge. I mean, I didn't like love it, but that wasn't like a big point taker off for me. But
I don't know. That's okay. I'm not going to talk about the ending, but I will say the ending I think is actively bad.
Like, I mean, it's not great, but
okay. So like the climactic scene I think is good. I think the actual ending and resolution of the movie is bad.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
But we'll talk.
But for me, it's more of a general, not a specific scene or anything like that. But let me just ask you if you get what I'm saying here. This movie, okay, I guess I should preface by saying the expectation for this movie was super high for me. I think this premiered like last year, I think, at like TIFF or Tribeca or one of the film festivals last year, and everybody was like, "Holy fuck, this is like
That is correct.
gonna
And
be the
then
best
Netflix
movie you've
promptly
ever
bought it.
seen." Yeah,
Yep. Netflix
and
promptly
all this
bought it
shit.
for $20 million, and then people were like, "Fuck, man, I hate when Netflix buys a fucking film festival, darling. They never promote it." And it's like, shut up, just
Right.
shut up, just shut up.
But nevertheless, all the positive feedback, and even as we're sitting here, I think it's at like a 95% of Rotten Tomatoes, is certified fresh. Like, I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's,
Yeah,
whatever. But that creates a high expectation level. And then you add that kind of like movie stardom thing that we've been talking about with Glenn Powell, and that this was a passion thing for him and he was so involved with it. Oh, well, this fucking must be great. Now, what fucked me up with this movie and why I didn't like it as much, and maybe it's on me, that's why I'm asking you. It's called Hitman. It stars Glenn Powell, who is traditionally doing action shit. I mean, whatever you want to say. I mean, he's chiseled, he's buff, like, he's been in action stuff before. Like, I see him very easily taking on that action role perspective. There's no action in this movie.
correct.
The scenes with him doing the kind of goofy caper stuff where he's taking on these different personas, I love that shit. But like, we didn't really see it. Would do that thing where it would, have him meeting the perpetrator or whoever they're trying to have arrested, and then it would show them getting their mugshot. And like, we don't see how he got them. You know what I mean? Like, there's not him being chased by anybody or like no gunfight. I mean, I don't know. It's just, do you get what I'm saying or not? There was like, to me, there was like little to no action in this film, and that really surprised me and kind of let me down a little bit, because this is just a romantic comedy at the end of the day.
I wouldn't go so far as to call it a romantic comedy. Like, this is like boiling it down and saying it's a horror movie because people died.
Oh boy.
It's a romance movie. It's also a sort of thriller movie. Also, it's a comedy movie. It's lesser Pulp Fiction in that kind of aspect, where there's just like an amalgamation of genres. And do they all work? Kinda, except for Pulp Fiction, they all generally work. But like here, it's just kinda like the romance is good. The comedy stuff when it happens, which is very infrequently, you chuckle. You see his costumes and you chuckle at those.
Oh yeah,
but
for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. Like, there's no action in this, and I guess I did expect a little bit of action. Just like it's Hitman. Like, the title is Hitman. Like,
exactly, and he's doing this undercover gigs and stuff. Like, I mean, I don't know. You would just think there would at least be a couple scenes where like he's being chased by the bad guy. I mean, anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like,
why would the bad guy ever chase him? Because
well, I mean, I'm just,
you saw it the first one. What happens is that guy walks immediately out of the restaurant and then is immediately cornered by the police and immediately arrested, and then he immediately walks away. So like, there's no real danger. Now, of course, like, the action spin on this is like the first guy gets off on a technicality and then sends an actual
hunts him
hitman
down or whatever, right?
But that's a completely different movie. It's not this movie.
Yeah. Another thing too is I am watching this and I'm going, because in the beginning, the first 20 to 30 minutes of the movie, he's this nerdy professor or whatever. And, he wears like SpongeBob high pants and like, he's kind of out of his element and glasses and just kind of a loner. He's divorced. I think he's divorced. Yep. And he's just kind of like painted as like a loser who sits at home with his cats eating TV dinners. And I think that's actually one of the scenes in the movie.
I mean, early on. In fairness, that would be your life if you were divorced.
It would be. I mean, I'm not saying that.
So, I mean,
but here's what I'm saying, though. But I wasn't.
Man.
No, you're right. But here's what I'm saying, though. I don't buy it for Glenn Powell, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
For me, I fucking buy it, brother. Like, that's me to a T if I'm divorced.
Yeah.
But Glenn Powell, I mean, come on, dude. I mean, and then not only that, when he makes that transition to being this kind of fly by the seat of your pants undercover dude with virtually no training, he's just a natural at it. He's like different, and I get that's the idea because he's portraying different people and stuff. But like, when we got to know the real him in the first half hour, I didn't see that character as somebody that would be able to accomplish the things that he accomplishes. And then the fact that it was Glenn Powell on top of that, it just took me out. I'm like, there's no way anybody's Because in the end of the movie, towards the end of the movie, when his students are like saying, "When did our teacher become hot?" or whatever. Remember that scene?
Yeah, Gerald. I remember. I watched the movie 3 hours ago.
I didn't know that. Well, that's kind of what I was thinking in the first half of the movie. Is like, this dude's hot. Like, does nobody notice that? That's fucking Glenn Powell. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
yeah, sure. But like everything you're saying, Gerald, is like you missed the whole fucking point of the movie. The whole point of the movie is that like he's talking, like he just talks about like he's a psychology professor and a philosophy professor, and he's like, here's all these philosophies, and your philosophy is very static. It doesn't really change that much. But then his ex-wife shows up. And he's like, actually, there's research that shows that like your philosophy actually can be malleable and you can change as you get older. And then as the movie progresses, as he's getting older, he slowly changes because he finds a personality that a woman gravitates towards that allows him to be more outwardly confident and show like, hey, I actually, motherfucker, I am Glenn Powell, okay? I've been Glenn Powell the whole time. I've always been this hot guy. And then it just slowly gets to the point where it is his dominant personality, even to the point where, like, in his personal life, he's just completely changed. They notice it at the meeting in the police station, like, man, nice shirt, man, you look great. It's that kind of thing where he slowly morphs over time into being the confident guy. Now, of course, like, I do think there's, for the first 30 minutes, we get a good bit of Gary there. We don't get a good bit of Gary for a long time for the rest of the movie. The rest of the movie is pretty much just Ron. And that's fine, but like it just feels like at one point the script flipped and he's just Ron for the rest of the movie until the end where he's like, I came up with a blend of Ron and Gary, and I'm now both guys. And it's like, are you?
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you, and that it just, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of what you're saying too. But I just feel like that first act didn't line up with at least for his character. I mean, even having somebody like Aronia who played Madison in the movie, even having, like, when she sits down, right, and she's wants to kill her husband at the time, wants to hire him to kill her husband, and she comes in and sits down with him at the booth, just like 5 or 6 different people we'd seen prior to that. Not to know how many he actually did, but I mean that they showed us as the viewer. Same scenario. And when he sat down with those previous people, he was very curt, cold-blooded, kind of like, I'm the badass, I'm telling you how it is. But he's doing everything in the effort to get the sting, right?
Yeah.
But when she sits down, I mean, of course she's beautiful. I mean, I get that, but like,
right, Gerald, we have a 2-word phrase for this. It's called pretty privilege. She is pretty, therefore she has the privilege of being told, "Hey, don't do this."
Yeah, I mean, maybe that is it, because I don't know. It just didn't work for me, man. This is an average film that I feel like has been blown up as being the greatest shit ever. And I don't know if that's Twitter or like Rotten Tomatoes or what.
It's 100% Twitter. Okay, so this shows to me that you don't listen to our good friend Julio in his podcast, The Contrarians, where they talk about this. Rotten Tomatoes being 95% doesn't mean like, oh, it's a 9.5 out of 10 or a 95 out of 100. What it really means is 95% of critics think this is a passable movie. So people, when they quote Rotten Tomatoes being like, Rotten Tomatoes says it's good. No, Rotten Tomatoes says, hey, a lot of people think this movie is watchable. Okay?
Because it's either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. No,
right. It's a binary system that they then aggregate into some stupid thing that people have, for some reason, put stock into.
Right. I mean, I didn't hate it. I just feel like it's I just feel like it's mediocre. It's average. I wish there had been more action in the film. I loved his like skits that he did throughout the movie, basically, where he's impersonating the different hitman. He did that fucking hilarious Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, which was awesome. He did that. I think it was, you mentioned it earlier. I think it was either no, it wasn't the Russian one. It was another one where he like looked like Tilda Swinton.
The one that looks like Tilda Swinton, but he's not Tilda Swinton. He just I don't know. I don't know who he looks like. He doesn't look like anybody, but people are like, he looks like Tilda Swinton. It's like, yeah, I guess, sorta, but like, not really. So like,
but He was great.
Yeah,
I mean, he was great. I'm not going to take anything away from his performance. I thought he was hilarious. I thought the chemistry between them was super believable, and I love their relationship in the movie. I did also kind of. I mean, I know you said it was an actively bad ending.
it's actively bad. Yes.
Yeah, why did they? I didn't like it
It
either.
so like the actual climax of the movie, like the two scenes in her house, I think at the end of the movie are great. I think those
Yeah,
are like two of the strongest scenes in the movie. Like him coaching her on being like, play
the notes
innocent.
app.
Here's all the notes in my iPhone app, and then like them acting through that, and then him going back and Jasper being there and them going through that whole thing. That was
Mhm.
great.
That was
But
good stuff.
like,
Yeah.
although a little bit cheesy at the end, where it's like they have like marriage vows as a man is like asphyxiating with a plastic bag laying on her floor. That was something. That was a choice.
That was dark.
But then
That was
like
dark.
it was dark. But then like cut to like what? Let's say like 10 years later, he's still being a professor at that same university, and she's off being a mom, and it's just kind of like, what in the actual fuck am I looking at? Like, I I don't feel like we needed this epilogue here, and the epilogue just made me feel really weird about the whole movie
Hmm.
and everything. Like because um, at one point she like they get together and like her whole thing that gets her more attracted to him is the fact that he is a hitman and that he
Hmm.
does live so dangerously. And it's a little weird, but it's like maybe she's just trying to connect with him in some kind of way, and then she just keeps like digging and trying to ingratiate more into like his hitman aspectness. So and he has to keep making shit up because he's obviously never done it before.
Right.
And then she like uses him to antagonize her ex-husband, who might not even be her ex-husband because the divorce papers might not have even been filed in the first place,
Right.
to her going out and murdering her
That was
husband
another thing that
because
really bothered me, by the way. That was
yeah.
another perfect opportunity to have some kind of action in the film or tension. You know what I mean? But we don't see that. It's off camera, and she talks about it later. And then when she kind of confesses, "I killed him," that's when he breaks down, like, "You fucking killed him," and that's when he tells her that he's
Right.
Gary or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like,
That's the last
"What?"
time you see that right there is the last time you see the Gary persona. And like that's
Yeah.
fine. But like I wanted more of Gary cuz like it felt like and I know like that's the whole point of the movie is that Gary essentially was erased and replaced with Ron, and he just kind of had to learn how to like meld the two personalities, but like Gary should not have been erased as quickly as he was, outside of a minute of screen time later in the movie. It just felt really jarring, and so there, yeah, that and like her whole turn of him being like, oh well, not everyone's murderous, and then her being like, oh, I fucking killed him.
Yeah.
That was something. That was definitely a choice. I don't know. I don't mind her killing him. I don't mind, the whole like him being in love with her and trying to save her. It's just like there's some weird choices in this movie. I feel like it's maybe like 10 minutes too long too.
But didn't it also seem weird, like when he met her ex in the cafe, and he was going to hire him and to
Yes,
kill her,
yes,
which is like supposed to be some kind of plot twist. But I mean, whatever.
right.
But didn't it seem weird? I don't know. This is where I was talking about earlier with like Gary, who, for all intents and purposes, is who he really is. I mean, even if what you're saying is true and he's changing over time, and we're talking about the course of a few weeks here. I mean, it's not like he's
Sure. Yeah,
not
yeah.
Gary anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but he's meeting that dude in the cafe and kind of figures out who it is, and then what is he? He turns to him and says, "I'll do the boyfriend for free,"
Yeah.
like all badass or whatever. I don't. It just didn't line up. Like I don't feel like Gary would have done that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and I
Right.
understand that he was playing, the guy that saw him outside the club or whatever, but Ron. But I don't know. It just like the best way I could put it is just something was missing. I don't know. It just didn't
Sure.
line up enough for me to connect the dots.
Yeah, and outside of Glenn Powell and oh god, what's her name? Sorry,
Aronia.
the Aronia.
Adria
Outside of
Aronia.
them, like
Yeah.
who's really memorable? Like I kind of like Jasper a little bit. Like Retta's there too. I like Retta, but like she was, relegated to woman in chair role. So it's
She is
like
funny though.
she's funny, and like their dynamic between the whole like undercover hitman squad is cool. But yeah, there is something missing, and it like I know that it's a star turning performance, or supposed to be a star turning performance for Glenn Powell.
Yeah,
But
and I
like
get that.
you're right. There is a level missing in the script
It's just
to
I don't know.
elevate it at all.
I agree. I just wish there had been a couple action sequences to like blur that. I don't think you saw The Fall Guy. You haven't seen that yet, have you?
No.
But that's like got a lot of the comedic romantic stuff. It's almost like Hitman, but with a bunch of action sequences in it. I'm not saying go full action like The Fall Guy did, but I don't know. Even the scene of her going to kill her husband, or like one of the people that Glenn Powell put away getting revenge. I don't know, anything to heighten it up a little bit, because it kind of wore out its welcome for me after a while, because it would be, aside from me enjoying the different caricatures that he would do, which I did like that, it would be him doing another one of those, getting the collar, and then showing their mugshot. And then here we go again. Now he's a redneck, and he gets that guy, and they show his mugshot. And they did that like 7 or 8 times throughout the movie, and it's like, I get it. Like, the guy's good at, undercover. So I don't know, it just kind of became repetitive after a while. And the one thing I really did like about the movie consistently throughout it was him and Madison's kind of sexy, energetic relationship and volatile relationship, and kind of not knowing. And that's another reason why the ending is a bit of a letdown, because in real life, I mean, you would think this would be a pretty tragic ending. This is not going to end well for these two people, and she's killing people, and he's pretending to kill people, and they killed a cop. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't line up with reality either. And I know this is the movies, but I didn't hate it. It's just average for me. I would recommend people watch it, especially since it's available to stream, but I'm not like everybody was earlier this year that was like, oh my God, fucking Hitman, you've got to see this immediately. And like, I was really excited for it. And after seeing it, I'm kind of like, all right, I mean, yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, if somebody comes into the comments and says, hey, you guys should have watched this. If you guys watched this on the big screen, you would really understand. No, I wouldn't. It's a good movie. I'm sorry. Not every movie needs to be on the big screen. Sorry, just how it works. But yeah, I like Glenn Powell in this. I like what I like. Everything I said that I like. Everything I said that I don't like. There are more hits and misses with the overall movie. It's just,
how about?
And I disagree with your whole action sentiment. There's clearly
some
not
action in this movie.
That is clearly not the movie Richard Linklater wanted to make. Look at Richard Linklater's entire filmography. Pick out one action movie.
It's called Hitman, starring Glenn Powell.
Sure. Pick out one action movie.
Pick out one sting operation that goes wrong. Or
pick out one.
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that my expectation did not meet what the film ended up being. And like I said, I didn't hate it. I just feel like it would have been better for me personally.
It's Richard Linklater.
Let me ask you this. Adria Aronia, who plays Madison in this movie.
Adria Aronia, yep.
Or Ana de Armas.
Oh, Ana de Armas. All day, every day. No offense.
I don't know, bruh. I don't know, bruh. I don't know. No. After seeing this. All right. The stewardess costume got me, okay? I'm just going to go ahead and tell you.
To be a weirdo, the top five, do I actually have like a set top 5? Number 1 is always going to be Scarlett Johansson. So Colin Jost.
Yeah, she's up there.
Your days are numbered, bro.
We did our top 5 hotties on the show back in the day. I think I had her as my number 1, actually.
Garjo? Interesting.
I think I did, yeah. I got to look that episode up now. It's been a minute. We did Hollywood Hotties and Hollywood Hunks. That was back when Andy was on the show.
Oh. Well, that explains why I don't remember
it. It was before Glenn Powell, so he wasn't on the.
It was definitely before him, yeah.
All right, so to wrap up, I gave it a 6 out of 10. I think it's fine, guys. I mean, stream it on Netflix. It's a good time.
Lawyer. Get a
She's
lawyer.
hot. He's hot. They're doing hot things. I mean, it's good. Dan gave it a 7 out of 10, which makes it a 6.5 cumulatively this week from the P's on Hitman. Now, Dan, like I said, Nick is taking a bit of a break the next month or so from the show, so we will be having a cavalcade of guests rolling in here. We got our boy Brad coming in next week. We are going to discuss the new Nepo Baby Shyamalan film, The Watchers.
I'm sorry, what? What did you say?
The Nepo Baby.
No, are you?
No good?
That's not how you say it.
How do you say it?
Okay, so first of all, it's derived from the word nepotism.
Nepotism, yes, I know that.
So you shortening the word from nepotism baby to N-E-P-O is not Nepo baby, it's Nepo baby.
Oh, I didn't put the syllable correctly. You're freaking me out over here, man. I thought maybe Nepo baby wasn't a thing.
No, it's 100% a thing. Maya Hawke admits it. So if Maya Hawke admits it, therefore it must be true.
But Ishana Night Shyamalan, to be exact, is her directorial debut for The Watchers. And our boy Brad from Old Man Brad's going to join me next week. We're going to discuss that movie. Dan, you yelled at me for 46 of the 58 minutes, but I want to thank you for being here and covering for Nick this week on Hitman.
Hold on, is that not? I thought M. Night was doing that movie.
He produced it.
Am I thinking of the wrong movie? Is this a Josh Hartnett movie?
No, that's Trap, which comes out in July.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. That's why I got confused because it's coming out so goddamn close. That's so stupid.
Yeah,
give your daughter some breathing room at night. What the fuck? There's
actually a movie theater in the Trap trailer that has The Watchers playing at the theater. So.
Oh, that would make sense for the timing of the movie.
Yeah. But no, The Watchers from Ishana Night Shyamalan, her directorial debut. I saw it today, actually, but I'll hold my thoughts, and me and Brad are going to discuss that next week. Dan, thanks
Gerald,
again, man. Stop yelling at me.
No, Gerald, spoil your podcast for next week. Tell everyone what you thought of The Watchers right now.
I don't want to. I'm not going to put it on my letterbox either. I'm not going to put anything on social.
Yeah,
I was conflicted. I'll put it that way. I was conflicted.
Ooh, conflicted, Gerald. Ooh, this is going to be interesting. I'm surprised you guys aren't doing Amityville Death Toilet.
I would like to. That's going to be Nick's comeback, actually. We're going to do Amityville Death Toilet.
God, I can't wait. I can't. That's what we really should be doing for our to-be watch party is Amityville Death Toilet.
We should. That's what we should make Logan watch, too.
Oh, 100%.
Thanks to everybody that tuned in for live stream for The Cure last week. A lot of good podcasters came on board, and a lot of people tuned in to raise money. It was great, and thank you to everybody that tuned in for the Peace segment as well. Dan, thanks for all you did, of course, behind the scenes and getting us ready for it. And you did your thing, man.
Dan, monitor the donations. Dan, put all this stuff on the screen. Dan, do this. Dan, do that. Dan, who had the highest donation? Dan,
allow me to yell at you when something goes wrong. Dan. All right, so Nick will be back sometime before the end of the year, I guess. And then until then, I'll just keep guests coming in here, and we'll keep talking about movies. Dan, thanks so much for being here, man. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you on the flip side, brother. That was our discussion of Hitman, and we will see you next week.